Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me on. I was excited when Jen reached out to me because she's like, "Do you want to talk to my leaders? Talk to my coaches?" And I was like, "Yes, it's so great." And I have had a few things that have been on my mind lately. And when she's like, "Well, kind of talk about this," and I'm like, "Oh, well, that's exactly what I had in mind before you gave me any sort of topic." But and that is like, for me, one of the big things that I have kind of dealt with lately is reaching like my goals and getting to a place where I'm like, okay, so now I've gotten here, now what? And I kind of felt like I was getting complacent in my own life, and I was losing a little bit of, sorry, there's like background noise.
Oh, no. I'll mute. Let me find that.
Thanks. I felt like, I don't know, just kind of bored in a way. And that passion and that like drive and that like, oh, I can't wait to get on Facebook and get in my challenge groups was gone. Like I didn't feel that anymore. And it was kind of scary, kind of scary to feel that. And then from there, that fear just kind of took over, and it feels like my camera's kind of fuzzy. But that fear was creeping into my life and just taking over. And I had to tap into, okay, what's going to reignite that fire? What's going to reignite that passion for me? And luckily, I have been working with a life coach. And so I just want to kind of share some of the things that he helped me work through that have been making a difference for me. And he pointed out how there are male energies and there are female energies. And I am not the person who's like a feminist, I guess. I'm like oh, females can do, I don't know. Like I just am kind of like, I just am who I am. Like I just don't think I need to fit in any kind of labels. And so I kind of resisted this idea at the beginning where he's like, well, there's male energies and there's female energies. And I'm just like, whatever. But the more he talks about it, I'm like, okay, well, I can see that. But I've always kind of pushed against it because I'm like, well, I know I can do anything. Like I know I can run my own business and I support my family, but I'm the female. So, but he pointed out how that's because I, as a powerful female, I know how to tap into this male energy. And he was saying how like the female energy is this desire to, nest, and take care of a home and be a partner with your spouse and take care of the kids and make things beautiful and, make it a home. And we care about the relationships and about people and just connecting with people one-on-one and having friends and having a good time, and all these things are the more the female energy. And the male energy is more of like, I'm going to get shit done. Now, that's like the, like I'm getting it done. I'm like, getting and take charge and I don't care what you tell me, I'm doing it, like that's the male energy. And as females, like I'm assuming most of the people on this call are females. We all, like if you sign up as a coach, you know how to tap into that male energy because you signed up. You signed up and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take charge. I refuse for my life to be this certain way. But we have to honor like our natural selves and like who we are. And it's so easy to come back and step into this female energy and be like, well, it doesn't really matter. It's okay. Like, I just want to be happy. I just want to like, I just want to be a mom. I just want to, whatever, and step back into it. So you have to understand that there's like those opposing energies and forces or whatever. And then it's just natural to feel that way. But a powerful woman, a powerful leader is someone who can own that female energy, but know how to step into the male energy. And that male energy is what the passion comes from and the drive and that like urgency of like, I need to get this done. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to do this. And like, how do you step back into that? Because I was like, well, I haven't felt that in Beachbody. So I don't know how to get back into that. And he pointed out that the way I know how to step into that male energy is to find out and identify what I refuse. And he talks about it, he says it's refusal energy. And it's true. Like, I can think back to when I signed up as a coach, and I was like, it was both the female and the male energy working together, where I was like, my family is suffering. And as a female mom, like as a mom, that bothered me, that my family was not thriving in the way that I wanted it to. And that refusal energy powered me to take action. You know, the male, like, they take action, they're doing it and they're going for it. And I was like, I refuse this to be okay. You know, I refuse for my family to not be able to eat family dinner together because my husband's working 2 jobs. Like, I refuse for that to be okay. So I'm going to take action. I'm going to do something. Well, now my husband's home, you know? So, like, of course it makes sense when that thing that was fueling me, that refusal energy, isn't applicable anymore, right? And so he's like, you have to tap into a new refusal energy and find out, what do you refuse? You know, what do you refuse to happen or to be the case? And I will just say, like, I don't think anybody is inherently lazy or inherently, like, complacent, if you want to say it in that way. I just think sometimes, like, we get started in this business and we make progress. And because we make progress, the refusal energy that got us started on the path isn't always as applicable as we've made progress, right? Like, you're not as uncomfortable as you were before. You're not, like, in so much pain. Like, does that make sense if you guys are following what I'm saying? And so once you've moved out of that space and you've started making progress, it's really easy to be like, well, that doesn't really, like, make sense for me anymore, because now I'm not, 20 pounds overweight. And maybe don't have a 6-pack, but I'm not so uncomfortable in my clothing, so it doesn't really matter. Or, like, now we are making an extra $500, and so do I really need to make $500 every single week when my first goal was just to help with the groceries? Like, I'm not so uncomfortable, so what is my drive? What's my motivation? And so you have to find a new refusal energy. And here's the thing. I just want to tell you guys, it's like, you may be thinking, well, why? And I mean, I'm in a place where, do I really need to make more money? No. Like, and is it really actually going to make a difference for me? Like, we're saving more money than we spend anyway. So do I need to just put more money in the savings account? No. So what's my drive? Like, what can be my motivation? And is it, like, coming from a place of I need more? And, like, I used to think that. I will say I used to think that. Like, I thought that last year. I was like, well, I just want to be happy with what I have. And I just want to know, like, it's okay. But I want to tell you something. When you're not living with passion, and when you're not living with an idea of, I have these goals and I'm moving for them, you're not happy. Like, a life void of that passion is not where you want to be anyways. Like, you're not going to feel fulfilled. Like, it's not a matter of, I need this and I need this and I need validation in this rank and I need this. It's like, I'm sorry, but if you're not progressing, like, you're miserable. Like, I did that. I thought, like, well, I've hit this and I've done this, so, like, I don't really need to, like, because I don't need it, I don't need that validation, so I can just be okay with where I'm at. Well, I wasn't happy. I can tell you from experience, you're not happy. That passion, that excitement, that drive when you wake up in the morning, you have a purpose and you know what you're working for and you're like taking charge, like, that's exciting. And that's like, that's like what makes you, like, wake up in the morning and be like, I can't wait to, like, see what this day brings. And I can't wait to see who I'm going to help. And I know, like, I'm moving towards this. Like, but the drive you have to get there to feel that is you have to find what you refuse to experience. So for me, what is that? For me, I realized, like, this is where I don't know maybe the dynamics of this team very well. So I'm just going to be honest and come from where I'm at. And I believe in God, and I don't know if that's going to make anyone uncomfortable. I'm not trying to convince you to believe in God. I'm just sharing my story. But I believe, like, God created me in greatness, to be great. And I refuse to live beneath that. I refuse to say, no, that's okay, God. Like, I know that you have this in store for me. I know that you like see me as this like person. I'm okay being this. And I think my will is above yours, and I'm going to choose to live small because I'm comfortable. And so I'm sorry, God, to disappoint you, but I care more about my comfort level than what you designed me to do. Like, I refuse to have that conversation. I refuse to come face to face with God one day and say, like, I lived beneath myself. I refuse to have that conversation. Like, I refuse to let anybody feel the way that I did. Like, I refuse for someone to wake up and think, like, this is as good as it gets. Like, I have an obligation to that. I refuse to live beneath myself and live beneath the greatness within me and to say, this is as good as it gets. Because how dare I think that when God is, I know, created me to do more. And the thing is, when I tap into that, my spirit confirms it to me and says, that's truth, Brigitte. Like, you were designed to do better. This is not as good as it gets. Like, you're going to blow your own freaking mind here because there's something greater for you and it's going to get even better. And like, that sets my soul on fire. I'm like, yes, let's do it, you know? And it's just that refusal energy, but you have to get that refusal energy for yourself and say, what do I refuse? You know? And I just think that's the difference, where you have that vision of where you want to be and where you're headed towards, that takes you from good to great and reignites that passion, reignites that desire and that, you know, drive. But with that, I do just want to say, we still, as female coaches here, have to honor the female energy and recognize that, like, we step into this business and we become business owners and we become like these whatever, and it's maybe just not natural for our spirit energy. And so we have to still honor the female energy and say, if I don't feel this and I'm trying to live constantly in this male energy and be go, 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 like deadlines, ranks, money, numbers, like all of that stuff, you're not going to feel fueled by that either. And so it's important that you recognize that you're taking care and nurturing that female energy. And so it's important for you to make a list of like, okay, what fuels me up? Like, what can I do to be taking care of me? Like, and I share this because like one of my coaches is Keisha Fitzgerald. And if you don't know who if you don't know who she is, she's going to be at Summit as one of the presenters. So you'll get to maybe hear from her. And so she's one of my coaches back in, I remember January, I had just kind of learned this with my life coach, and she was struggling, and she had been struggling for a while, but I didn't know what to tell her because I didn't know this myself. But she's like, I'm just not really motivated. Like, I'm a 9-star, and like, I'm just like, life is so much better than I even realized. And I keep thinking I should be going for 10-star, I should be going for 15-star, and I should go for like elite again, but I just don't really care. Like, she's not motivated by that stuff. And she's like, I'm just not motivated by that. And I keep thinking like I should be and I should care, but I don't. But like, it affects, you know, my passion and my drive. And I'm like, well, that's because it's not like who you are. Like, you are motivated by the relationships and by the friendships, and like, you are a female. Like, so, you know, she's sitting here thinking I have to work 9 to 5 every day and like go, 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 and live in this this male energy and be driven by these numbers and ranks and quality, like, and she's just not. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, go play with your friends. Like, go have a coffee date with your girlfriends, because that's going to fire you up to realize like, gosh, I'm like making these friends and like, I don't want them to have to keep going to these corporate jobs, and like, I want to help them. And so we made a list of everything that does refill her female energy and fuel her up. And I'm like, you need to make sure you're doing that. You need to make sure you're doing those things, because then when you take care of that, you have the ability and the power to tap into the male energy and go. So I hope that kind of like makes sense. But for her, like, it was a turning point in her business, and she's like, that changes everything. And, you know, her income has like grown significantly just this year as she's like tapped into that, what does, you know, fill her up and give her the ability to drive. Let me just look back at my notes a little bit and make sure that I went over everything I wanted to go over. The only other thing is just this concept that I learned going to a Tony Robbins seminar. So Tony Robbins is like big. You'll hear him say like, he's big on helping people identify like their story and then getting rid of their story. So like if you've created this mindset or this belief, you're going to find evidence or create evidence to support it. So if in your mind you've been like, well, I don't think I can really advance rank because I keep setting these deadlines and these goals for myself and I keep missing them. Or, well, I don't really know if I'm a good leader or a good sponsor because everyone keeps canceling, and so I just don't really know if I have what it takes. And you create this belief that you're a failure. You create this belief that like you're not good enough. And I'm just going to tell you guys, like, that's the story you're telling yourself. And when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you argue for your limiting beliefs, you get to keep them. So congratulations. You're not gonna feel like that feels like shit. Like, I'm sorry, like you're not gonna feel good. Like that, like, congratulations, you get to live in this limiting belief circle, but that's not even reality. Like, that's the story you're telling yourself. And because you're telling yourself that story, you are finding evidence to support it. And you're creating evidence to continue supporting it because your ego mind doesn't want to be wrong, right? So how about, what if that was not the truth? What if that was just a story? Like, I want you guys to create that like seed of doubt in all of the stories that you're telling yourself, and let the curiosity overcome the fear. So like that curiosity of like, well, I wonder if maybe I could. I wonder if like, well, maybe like I could possibly like actually hit that goal this time. Like, and let that curiosity overpower it. I think that, you know, that's something for me that like has totally moved me out of fear. If you're fear-based or whatever, I'm like, well, I wonder if that's actually the truth, you know, or is that just the story that I'm telling myself? So I hope that kind of makes sense, but I just wanted to kind of, you know, touch base on that to you. But those are the main things I just feel like are making a difference for me. You know, refueling my female energy, tapping into that male energy to be driven and to go and to do this and not live in complacency, because if you're complacent, you're not happy. Like, you're kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself if you think like you're okay just, you know, floating along and just, you know, experiencing more and more of the same. Your soul is not being fulfilled. And then when you have those fears, when you have those doubts and you're telling yourself this, like, realize, like, okay, you can keep telling yourself that, and that's what you'll get. You argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. But there's a possibility that you're not right. So let that curiosity be like, I wonder if that's not the truth. I wonder if that's just a story. And maybe I could. So anyways, those are my thoughts, Jen, and kind of went over a little bit past the time you allotted. But do you guys have questions or thoughts, or did I put everyone to sleep?
That was awesome. I have a question, Brigitte. What are your favorite ways to, like, either through affirmations or vision board or whatever, what is your specific way that you tap into that daily and get yourself into that passion and that mindset?
For the going for that male energy kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a statement that I went to this kind of new age seminar that like was all about like helping you to define and see who you are. And so I have a statement that is like, I am like who I am and what my purpose is here on earth. Like, I mean, because I have my spiritual beliefs of that I lived before and with God, and I'm here on earth having this experience, and I believe I'm going to be with God again. So I feel like I came down to earth for a specific purpose. And so I have this statement and I repeat it out loud like 3 times. And like, to me, when I do that, like I feel my spirit and my soul, like my heart pumping, where I'm like, okay, like that's what I'm going to do today. Like that's why I'm here and what my purpose is. And I don't know if anyone really cares, but mine is like yeah, I feel kind of like cheesy, like sharing it with you guys because it's so like whatever, new age. But yeah, my statement is that my purpose is to serve, to see, hear, and sing praises of those around me. As a compassionate, loving, beautiful spirit being of light, I create peace, joy, and freedom throughout all the world. And so it is. And so that's like my statement, because that covers who I am, why I'm here. My purpose is to serve, to see, hear, and sing praises of those around me. And who I am is I am a compassionate, beautiful spirit being of light. And my purpose is to create peace, joy, and freedom throughout all the world. And for me, like that is my spirit. Like that came from meditation. That came from me letting my spirit tell me who I am and why I'm here. So like that reignites my fire. Like I don't know if you guys read The Morning Miracle, if that kind of, went around here, but when I do the same thing. And so I have my little routine every morning that I do. And so I sit in silence, I do my meditation, I pray, read my affirmations, which is my statement. I visualize my ideal day. I state my intentions, that like what I'm creating today, like what do I want today? What am I going to create today? So that I'm not living in a reactionary state, but I'm living intentionally. And then I go do my exercise. I go for a gratitude walk. I kind of picked that up from the Energy Bus. If you guys read that book, it does the energy walk. I read my scriptures, I journal any thoughts, and I do all of that before I even open Facebook. So it's like I just barely, before this call, I had all that done, and I just barely hopped into my inbox. I was reading through my messages real quick and responding to all that. But I take care of me first, 100%. And does that answer your question? Does that help?
That was very helpful. Thank you. That was really awesome.
Yeah. You guys are all like, dude, this girl's like so crazy. And you don't have to have me back on any calls if it's way over craziness, right?
Brigitte, I absolutely loved it. I felt like it was exactly what I needed to hear today, because I don't have any kids, and sometimes I feel like I don't have that backed into a corner drive. So the reminder about always creating that refusal energy was like the exact message I needed today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I think like everyone can identify what they were refusing when they signed up, right? Like if you happen to be like, why did I sign up? And what was going through my head? And it's because you were so uncomfortable with something that you refused to continue experiencing that, right? And it's like you felt that, but you progress, which is a good thing. And so it's a good thing to just identify that. And it's because you need to know you're consistently going to need to find what you're refusing. Your refusal energy is going to change. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you.
Brigitte, I have a question for you. So you've been a coach for 4 years. Okay. So, you were talking about one thing that you did is you had did this life coach thing. And what do you, for you personally, and then what would be your tip, were you, before you chose to do that, did you find yourself becoming inconsistent as far as your business? Or have you always been able to be consistent with that and not let life get in the way? I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, is there more? I think I cut you off.
No, I just wanted to know, have you always been able to be consistent with that no matter what? And, or if you haven't, how did you find that way to get back into that consistency?
Yeah. So here's my, like, as far as my story goes, like, my life before, when I started Beachbody was, I felt just shambles, just everything was completely falling apart for me, and in such a strong way that my refusal energy was so strong that, I was like balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, like just all in. And my life was not balanced. Like Beachbody totally took over, and I have no regrets because I needed to make significant changes in my life. And so I put in a lot of effort. My first 2 years, a lot of effort, but I don't feel like I was making money quick. Like I've seen some coaches and I'm like, you made how much your first month? I'm like, I think I barely covered the cost of my Shakeology my first month. And I was probably working a lot, and I think I was coming from a place where I'm so embarrassed at the messages I sent to people at the beginning, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what though? I took action. I learned through a lot of failure. I was barely hitting Success Club 10 and talking to a ton of people. I had to talk to a ton of people to find 5 people who would say yes to me, And I talked to some coaches and they're like, everyone's saying no. And I'm like, okay, how many people have I talked to? And they're like, 15. And I'm like, seriously? Go talk to 100 more. You have no idea if this even works for you if you've talked to 15 people. But anyways, I had to put in a lot of effort, but I feel like that effort and that ball of energy created so much momentum in my business that when I did get to a place where I felt that complacency setting in, and I felt like I wasn't putting in that same effort, that the momentum was carrying me. But I still had at that point I wasn't sending out a lot of messages. I wasn't putting in the same effort, but that huge amount of effort had created so much momentum that there were people coming back to me. You know what I mean? So it's I was able to give a little bit of effort, but still hit Success Club 10, for example, kind of thing. And so I think that was my experience. I think someone who maybe has just been putting in, a medium amount of effort and it's still hard work, but they're working hard. If they drop down the effort that they're giving, it makes a big difference. And then maybe they drop rank a whole bunch, or their income really takes a big hit, or, they're not filling challenge groups anymore. So I think that's different for everybody, but I did see, have that experience of my effort changing and the time I was giving Beachbody and my mindset, my passion, my drive, going down and changing. And that is why I dove more into personal development big time. And that's when I really realized I'm the only one holding me back. The circumstances didn't change. Social media, it's still social media. People are still people. So the only thing that's explaining this is my own limiting beliefs. I'm the only one holding myself back. There's, it has nothing to do with external circumstances. And so I realized I messed up. I have created a lifetime of limiting beliefs that I've got to shed and get rid of. And so I started doing therapy, a lot of therapy. And I started maybe changing the books I was reading. So it was more of finding out how to overcome myself, and going to, seminars that are hokey pokey and, and connecting more in that like spiritual way. So that, and I'm saying spiritual, not religious. I've always been religious, but more spiritual, so that I can work through my issues. And because it's like I knew how to talk to people at that point. I knew how to do all those things, but it was a limiting belief. So, and then it was just barely, working through that has been significant. And then I went to Tony Robbins, but I still wasn't feeling all of the passion, and that's when I got a life coach, and it's a Tony Robbins life coach that I work with. So I went to a Tony Robbins seminar. It was awesome. Unleash the Power Within. I went to that last November and have been working with a life coach since then. Does that answer your question? Kind of.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brigitte, I have 2 questions that some other people that are on the call had sent me that they wanted me to ask. The first one is, are there things that like you did at the start of your business where you were like creating your empire that you're like not doing anymore, or that you stopped and went back to?
Yeah. Or wait, what was the last part that you said?
Or maybe you like stopped doing it and was like, oh crap, I stopped doing this. I need to start again.
Yeah. Sorry about like a little lump in my throat. A big thing that I did was I was really investing in each individual person, like one-on-one, very much. So like at the beginning, like, checking my challenge groups, like, and just, anytime anyone was struggling, I was sending them a private message and being like, just really connecting with them instead of just being like leaving it at a simple, like, come on, you can do it, comment in the group. So, I was giving that more effort. I was getting on the phone with like nearly everyone, and really focusing on that one-on-one relationship with like every single person, and so, that takes time, right? And that's where a lot of the time was spent in having, a lot of phone calls, and doing that part of it. And I feel like that was good. I don't regret that. There was, it built a strong foundation, so I have a strong foundation of challengers. I do have like challengers who've been with me for 4 years. I have like, they're not customers, they sign up as discount coaches, right? But it's like, they love the freaking groups, because it's like I really invested in them, and same thing with a lot of my leaders. Like they're like, like really good friends, and that's a really strong connection there. And with that though, like what happens when you do that is not everybody's gonna do this. Not everyone's gonna like continue moving forward. Not Beachbody's not for everybody, And so when people would cancel, because I still had some people cancel, I still had people quit, and I like took it very personal because they weren't just, like they weren't like, it was heartbreaking for me, because I was like, I was so invested in them, and it hurt, like, and it hurt so much that I got jaded. Like I got jaded because I was like, started viewing the people who joined my business or joined my challenge group as like, I don't know if I can trust you. Like, are you worth investing in or are you not? Like I got like a jaded mindset about it. And that's when a lot of it wasn't fun. And then that's when I got to do the therapy and realized like, okay, people have hurt me. Like, so I have a trust issue and I get to work on that. And I get to like work on that feeling of like, people are going to hurt me and I have to like, I can only trust certain people and realize like, so there was limiting beliefs that were creating the pain. One thing I feel in with Beachbody is freaking awesome. And there's nothing wrong with Beachbody. Like anytime you have pain or you're frustrated or you're angry about something or you're hurt about something or you're annoyed by something, it's not Beachbody. it's your limiting belief coming to the surface. There's your limiting belief behind that you get to work through. So for me, it wasn't a problem of I have coaches canceling and I shouldn't have invested in time in it. It's my limiting belief of I can't trust people, people are going to hurt me, and so I got to work through the limiting belief, but so that's one of the things I did that really built a strong foundation. And then a lot of it was also just the amount of people I was reaching out to and starting conversations with. And I don't do that as much anymore. So now, I'm happy with where I'm at though at the same time, invest in the people that I'm investing in, but I just am not talking to as many people because I don't know, that's what I did at the beginning to build the momentum. And then I kind of swung to the other side. And now I'm in this happy medium where I'm really happy with where my family life is. I'm really happy with, my house. My house is clean actually, where it was not clean for 2 years. But I'm happy with my business. I'm excited when I sit down to work, but this doesn't take over my life, So kind of learn from both sides what I do want.
Awesome. And then the second question was, let me see it. Do you find that you do more recruiting for challenge groups or product wise or more on the business side?
So I did it, don't do it from the business side. That's my 2 cents for you. I did that for a long time. Well, for the last year and a half, really. But when I signed up as a coach and I started, it was very much I want you in a challenge group. I want you to have this experience. I want you to feel good. And that's where the majority of all of my solid coaches came from, because they were in love with the products, and they had that community and they had that great experience in a challenge group. And they're I want to share that, and they're passionate about this. Last year, year and a half, well, it's been 2 years now. So the first 2 years were different than the last 2 years. And it's been the last 6 months where I've been, really happy with where things have been. But I definitely started shifting more towards oh my freaking heck, this has totally changed our life. People need to do the business. Guys, come on, let's do the business. And I really led from that side of it. And I think that was a mistake because the caliber of people and the expectations of people who were joining my business at that point were that, well, I want to make money. And when they didn't make money, they quit, and they weren't as excited about it, because you don't make quick money in this business, you don't. And the people who were engaged and stayed with it are the ones who were I just want to help people have the same experience I had in a challenge group, And so I've definitely shifted back, and I'm changing how I'm posting, because I want to attract different people into my community now. And I'm talking more about my fitness aspect and my journey. And I'm not the freedom and that, because that didn't work for me. I still was hitting Success Club and I was, still an elite coach or whatnot, but I didn't have the same rock stars on my team, because I think they joined under a different expectation, So you're going to enjoy it more. I think you're going to have the team you want to have when you're really investing in those challenge groups. So that's where it starts. That's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's already 1:45, and so I really, really, really appreciate all the time you invested in us today. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And I think it was just what a lot of us needed to hear today. So we love you. We're excited to see you at Summit. And unless anyone has anything else, we'll call it a day.
Thank you so much for having me on. I know it's I don't know, feels kind of vulnerable getting on, and, I don't know this team as well. So I hope that it was helpful for you guys, but thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Brigitte. Bye.
Mm.